What's going on, y'all? So we have Mr. Collapse Co here making a video saying 60 minutes to destroy Xbox's empire. This is how things went downhill. And ever since, we have funny comments like the Xbox One reveal was the greatest marketing strategy for PS4. The entire generation can be summed up in 4 words: stick with the 360. Oh man, that's funny. Let's get into this now.
Every once in a
Interesting
while,
story.
a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything.
And sometimes it does the exact opposite.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Xbox One.
This is that story. The moment Xbox set itself on fire live on stage while the world watched. A 60-minute implosion that shattered trust, betrayed fans, and handed the generation to Sony and put the entire Xbox brand in jeopardy. But before the collapse, Xbox wasn't just winning, it was the heart of gaming culture. In 2005, Microsoft launches the Xbox 360 a full year before the PlayStation 3. While Sony stumbled with a complicated system and a $599 price tag, the PS3 included a Blu-ray drive which many gamers didn't care for at the time. The Xbox 360 was cool, sleek, developer-friendly, and most importantly, $200 cheaper. At E3 2005, Xbox unveiled a new concept, Gamerscore, a system that tracked your achievements across every game. It was
That's what I liked about that. They were coming in the industry being innovative. You know what I mean? Like literally, they were adding things that nobody else was doing, and they gave them some type of identity with a nice entry point, understanding the gaming industry that was growing up through Nintendo's world, that knew about that entry point. For PlayStation being affordable too, they did the right move and had more power.
a way to gamify the games themselves. Not just gameplay, but it also was status, identity, bragging rights. Sony and Valve would follow with their own versions years later, but Xbox did it first. And then came the games. And by 2010, the numbers backed it up. Over 80 million consoles sold, 25 million members on Xbox Live, and Halo 3 breaking entertainment records at the time with $170 million in its first day. And even when the infamous Red Ring of Death struck, Microsoft didn't hide. They owned it. Peter Moore, then head of Xbox, remembers it clearly. Moore brought the problem to then
Immediately faced it and faced the people. You know what I mean? Community, right? Developer feedback, community feedback. Yeah, it was there. There was real gaming and people that knew what they were doing, and it was working. And that was innovation.
CEO Steve Ballmer, "We don't do this," Moore said. "This brand is dead." Then came the moment that saved Xbox.
The credit of Steve, and I can still see him looking at me right now. He said, "Do it. Just do it. We'll figure it all out. We'll take the hit."
Microsoft will spend at least $1 billion to repair serious hardware failures with its Xbox 360 video game console.
Every broken console would be replaced.
They did that. Right. They weren't nowhere near as rich as they were now either. Satya there. This is the individuals inside.
Ship it, fix it, and send it back. No questions asked. The fix would cost them $1.15 billion. $240 million of that on FedEx alone. That single decision became a turning point. The Red Ring of Death could have killed Xbox. Instead, it earned loyalty. Inside Microsoft's headquarters, a new console was taking shape, codenamed Durango. The man leading it? Don Matrick, and he was the wrong man for the job. A former EA exec who saw Xbox not as a community, but as a platform for TV, Skype, and cable deals. The vision was clear. Xbox wouldn't just play games, it would conquer the living room. But warning signs were already flashing. Between 2011 and 2013, hackers breached Microsoft's network. They stole credentials, copied source code, leaked internal specs. And one member even snuck into Microsoft headquarters to steal a Durango dev kit.
So my mom's boyfriend at the time worked for Microsoft. Had a all access badge. I cloned this badge. Right. I have this badge. I know this entry of this building. I know the side of Redmond of where this building was. And I plotted a scheme to go into Microsoft late at night and take the kits. So I got this, this Xbox One that can run unsigned code.
Funny.
Yeah. So they didn't just leak anything, but they shared with them a critical part of the Xbox One software in the development stage. But then one of these guys goes missing. We know something's up because a eBay listing goes up and it's an Xbox development kit, an Xbox One development kit on eBay.
Okay.
So that big red flag there, right? So boom, FBI kicks in at that point.
Durango had become a magnet for leaks, theft, and speculation. Microsoft decided to skip E3 for the reveal. Instead, they built a massive white tent on their Redmond campus. A strange move
Guys, think about that too. That's interesting, isn't it?
at the time that baffled the industry. Why abandon the biggest stage in gaming? Microsoft claimed they wanted a jump start. Others say the hack forced their hand to reveal Durango earlier. Either way, the timing didn't help. It proved a massive gift to PlayStation, giving them time to react and plan their execution. More on that later. Internally, some Xbox team members were frustrated. Gaming was no longer leading the charge. The entertainment division had taken over. Engineers were uneasy. Developers whispered concerns about Kinect's real usefulness. The soul of Xbox, the thing that made the 360 special, was being drained, replaced by cable features, TV deals, and voice commands. But the message from leadership was clear: forward or nothing. And the decisions they planned for that day would come back to haunt Microsoft for years. May 21st, 2013, a day that lives in infamy for Xbox. Don Matrick walked on stage like it was a victory lap. This was supposed to be a crowning achievement. Instead, a tech titan lit itself on fire and the world watched it burn. Millions tuned in, expecting games, innovation, a bold leap forward for Xbox. What they got instead was TV demos, voice commands, cable partnerships.
That means all of you Xbox fans will get more new, innovative games than ever before.
All that is going to change with Xbox One.
Because today, Team Xbox is on a new mission by harmonizing your experiences. TV becomes more intelligent. Can we take what you love and make it home entertainment system? TV and entertainment, live and recorded television, sports and movies. NFL on Xbox, transforming TV experiences.
Xbox on. Xbox, watch TV. Live TV, go to TV. Watch TV, watch TV. Entire TV experience. Could turn on your TV, live TV. Turn on their TV. TV and movies, watch TV. You can do it with live TV.
Yeah, after you saw that, I was like, okay, well, y'all lost. I don't know if you're gonna recover from that.
Watch TV and watch MTV. All the TV shows, truly intelligent TV. Skype and live TV. Watch ESPN to control your entire TV experience. All right, finally, let's tackle what I think is the biggest challenge with watching TV. Go to Internet Explorer.
Television shows on breaking television. The television viewing experience, TV on Xbox, TV becomes social than live sports.
Halo television series.
Halo to Xbox as a premium television series.
Oh, nice.
Xbox is about to become the next water cooler.
Xbox Go Home. Pretty cool, huh? Let's see that again.
It was a full hour of Microsoft telling gamers, hey, remember all that stuff you love? Well, forget it, we've moved on. And then came the 3 decisions that broke everything. First, always-on connectivity. The Xbox One would have to check in with Microsoft servers every 24 hours, or it would stop working entirely. No offline mode, no exceptions. Second, Kinect required.
As far as I was telling people when they said anything about Nintendo, I'm like, why are you even talking about anything when they're still preserving first party? You know what I mean? It is the most just insane thing you can state when they did that in 2013. 12 years ago. Yeah, crazy.
You'd think Microsoft would have learned from Sony's mistake when they forced a pricey Blu-ray drive into the PS3, driving up the cost and pushing away gamers. But no, Microsoft didn't learn from their failure. Instead, they did the same exact thing with Kinect. They bundled it, they inflated the price, and they told everyone at the time, the console won't even work unless Kinect is plugged in. Which, by the way, wasn't really true. Third, DRM lockdown. Used games restricted. That gaming ritual of lending, selling, or trading discs with friends, gone. Each game would be tied to one account. Sharing, nearly impossible. In fact, this announcement wasn't just hated by the community. GameStop, the largest games retailer at the time, also hated the announcement.
And then Sony introduced that console share play, or free online, and they came in and put that on their console. See, so a lot of things they did that Sony did too. And Sony made the online free. They were completely anti-consumer. They've been the worst, as I said. It wasn't anything new after the 360.
Used games were their lifeblood,
Those guys weren't
a core
gamers.
part of their business model. So when Microsoft revealed that physical games would be tied to a single account and sharing them would be restricted, Wall Street noticed. GameStop's stock plunged 13% almost overnight. Under Matrix's leadership, Microsoft wasn't asking gamers what they wanted, they were dragging them into a future they didn't ask for. The new console, dubbed the Xbox One, was presented as an all-in-one media center. Sure, it played games, but that wasn't the focus. No, the real spotlight was on how it would change channels, call your mom on Skype, or pull up fantasy football stats while you watch the NFL. And when games finally do show up, they feel like a checkbox on a corporate presentation. Call of Duty would have some exclusive content, FIFA would have some special features, but where are those system sellers? The innovation that makes gamers desperate to upgrade to a new console. And somehow there were no plans to announce the next Halo game at the reveal. Halo, the most iconic franchise Xbox had, their crown jewel. You'd think they'd want to launch the next generation with the next Halo game. Instead, Microsoft announced a live-action Halo TV series produced by Steven Spielberg, marketed as the centerpiece of Xbox's push into original content, a show that ended up being in development hell for years only to be a total flop. The fans who made the Xbox 360 a cultural phenomenon watch in horror as their beloved brand transforms into something unrecognizable.
We're all in the green room, and as each person would get off stage, the execs in the room would ask what the pulse is on social, and it was not good.
This is not going well. This is not going well at all. That was not the right way to unveil the next generation of gaming.
And then comes the moment that would detonate everything.
I have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
In that moment, Microsoft didn't just lose a fan base, they declared war on them.
I wonder if history is repeating itself. Even worse, with more money and everything, and more sharks.
The quote went viral within minutes. The memes are savage and immediate. Don Matrix's quote becomes a rallying cry for everything wrong with corporate gaming. The Xbox brand suffered so much damage in so little time that it still hasn't fully recovered a decade later. And inside Microsoft, the mood was just as bleak.
We're sitting there listening to it the whole time. And I remember one of our engineers said, they're not even talking about any of the games yet. Are they gonna talk about games?
And then, just to pour gasoline on the fire, Microsoft creative director Adam Orth tweeted this: "Sorry, I don't get the drama about always on. #deal with it." He was forced to resign days later. Even industry vets were speaking out. Legendary game designer Peter Molyneux, once one of Microsoft's stars, said, "I actually wish Kinect wasn't a requirement. It feels more and more like a joke."
It was, because everything they were doing, like I said, this company does not know what they're doing. This gives you a clear idea. Even in that time, they don't know what they're doing. They never did, honestly. Except in the 360 era, they had a little bit of help, and they did some really good things. But somehow it's like, man, where did that switch hit? You know what I mean? And it did. And like I said, Phil Spencer was still learning, but Don Matrix Jim Ryan did. Well, Jim Ryan, Don Matrix, but he didn't, though. If you see, PlayStation's fine. But I mean, that guy just nitro rushed off the cliff in a way where I'm like, good Lord.
That joke came with a $100 price tag. Meanwhile, in San Mateo, Sony is taking notes, preparing to capitalize on Microsoft's self-inflicted wounds. And like the Kinect, it was watching and listening. E3 2013. Sony didn't just show up, they dropped the hammer. They started with games, real games. No TV, no voice commands, no fantasy football overlays, just gameplay. Then came the moment that flipped the generation.
When a gamer buys a PS4 disc, they have the rights to use that copy of the game. They can trade in the game at retail, sell it to another person, lend it to a friend, or keep it forever. In addition, PlayStation 4 disc-based games don't need to be connected online to play. If you enjoy playing single-player games offline, PS4 won't require you to check in online periodically. And it won't stop working if you haven't authenticated within 24 hours.
That was
the
it
message
there.
is crystal clear. We hear you. We're not here to control you. We're here to make games fun again.
Because when Sony one day and sold 118 million, like Phil Spencer said, when you lost that, it was over. Because that digital carryover is an automatic victory and conversion. Just like Nintendo's doing, the automatic carryover and conversion. It's over. There's nothing you can do about that. And Phil Spencer said that back then. You know what I mean? So he knew. Like, it's just people coping. And it's like, nah, man, he knew that. He's not.
Sony is offering everything Microsoft is taking away. They're listening while Microsoft is dictating. They're embracing while Microsoft is rejecting. But Sony wasn't done. They had drawn blood. Now they wanted to go for the kill.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
This isn't about money. This is about the game of the insides. They outsmarted them. They made better decisions. That's it. That's all this is. All the whole thing.
PlayStation. Simple, brutal, legendary. A 21-second video that obliterated Xbox's launch narrative. Delivered with surgical precision, it went viral within minutes. And then finally, the death blow.
I'm very proud to announce that PlayStation 4 will be available at $399.
A full $100 less than the Xbox One. A better message, a better price, a better understanding of the audience. Mic drop,
better
game
specs
over.
too.
The impact was swift. The gaming press declares Sony the winner before E3 is even over. Microsoft had spent a decade building a console empire. And then, in the span of 3 successive announcements, Sony brought it crashing down. This wasn't just mockery, it was a public execution.
Will you change anything about the Xbox One after seeing the Sony conference? If so, what?
I don't really think we're not going to change anything. I mean, we're very happy with what we've done with Xbox One. We're very happy.
June 19th, 2013. Microsoft hit the brakes. They reversed everything. The always online requirement, gone. Used game restrictions, eliminated. The Xbox One, now playable offline just like people had begged for. But instead of relief, the reversal brings humiliation.
Does it remind you of the $79.99 reversal? Don't know what you're doing. Lost. See?
Microsoft had spent months defending these features as essential, revolutionary, the future of gaming, only to abandon them at the first sign of serious resistance. Under Don Matrick's leadership, Xbox wasn't just losing hype, it was losing its entire audience. And just to top it all off, there was this gem.
Does that remind you of the website unsubbing with millions of people crashing the thing? Same thing again. It's like this is just you're not recovering this time, and no, so it's.
If you're backwards compatible, you're really backwards, Don Matrick said months earlier. Now, Microsoft looked exactly like that. Backwards, confused, out of touch. The damage was done. The reversal didn't look like a thoughtful response to feedback. It looked like desperate corporate backpedaling. Gamers had already made up their minds. They'd been burned by the reveal and won over by Sony's clear, pro-consumer stance. And then, in July 2013, Don Matrick's reign of incompetence came to an end. He graciously stepped down to join Zynga. Because when you're a C-suite executive who just torched a gaming empire, you don't get fired. You get to issue a press release about exciting new challenges. A career built on failing upward had finally hit the ceiling. Well, at least for this moment. November 22nd, 2013, the Xbox One finally launches. Despite reversing the controversial policies, it felt like too little, too late. The narrative was already set. PlayStation 4 flew off shelves with over 1 million units sold in 24 hours. But for Xbox, it felt like watching a victory lap run in reverse. That momentum from the 360 was gone. The message they were trying to get out there, totally scrambled. Its legacy was fading. That Kinect sensor everyone hated was still bundled in, adding $100 to the price. For many gamers, it felt like an unwanted surveillance camera shoved in their living room. Internally, Xbox leadership was panicking. Despite all the reversals, Offline play restored, used games allowed, DRM scrapped, most people still thought the Xbox One was always online, locked down, and spying through Kinect. And the marketing team? They were desperately trying to rewind the narrative. Ads were pumped out, executives gave interviews, tweets, blog posts, press briefings. It was all a blur of damage control. It's not always online. We don't block used games. You don't have to use the Kinect. But the messaging had been so botched from the start, no one believed them. The memes had won. The first impression had stuck. The internet had already decided what the Xbox was, and no PR campaign could erase it. Even as Xbox One hit the shelves, the console felt like
It's a similar thing now, like when you go and take a look at charts, nobody buys it, nobody wants it, everybody's done with this brand permanently. Except the amount of people that are kind of left over because of what they did, not gamers.
like a product trying to explain itself. Instead of launching with confidence, it launched with baggage. It wasn't about the specs that doomed it, it was the story. And Microsoft was now trapped in a fight against a narrative they had written themselves. February 4th, 2014, Microsoft undergoes a shift at the very top. Satya Nadella, a 22-year company veteran who built Azure into a cloud computing powerhouse, becomes the CEO. His mission? Transform Microsoft from a Windows-obsessed relic into a modern cloud-first, mobile-first technology giant. But Nadella inherits a gaming division in complete freefall. Don Mattrick has fled to Zynga, leaving behind a smoldering crater where Xbox's reputation used to be. Xbox One was losing badly to the PS4, the press was mocking it, gamers were unhappy, and behind the scenes, the pressure wasn't just coming from those gamers, it was coming from the top. Some Microsoft shareholders and even executives like Nadella were asking a blunt question: why are we even in gaming? There were real conversations about shutting it all down, selling Xbox, spinning it off into its own company, walking away. Even the company itself wasn't sure Xbox had a future. But in March 2014, Nadella makes the call that will define Xbox's future. Enter Phil Spencer. A 25-year Microsoft veteran who started with CD-ROM titles like Encarta, had climbed his way up and was now leading an Xbox brand in crisis.
Microsoft has a new CEO with Satya. How are you going to be working with him? Tell me about those conversations.
The discussions with Satya about taking this role were really important to me because I wanted to have a discussion with him about how important gaming was to Microsoft's success. I wanted to see Xbox as a core product in Microsoft's long-term vision. And the discussion he and I had, along with Terry Myerson and Stephen Elop, different leaders in the group, was really around us using gaming, looking at gaming and the fans of gaming that we have, hearing our internal employees' passion for what we're building, and making sure gaming is something that permeates every consumer product that we build, led with what we're doing with Xbox One.
He wasn't a flashy executive, he was a gamer, and, for a while, Xbox's best shot at redemption. For all the questions that would come later, his first moves were clear: fix the mess, earn back trust, and try to compete. Under Spencer's leadership, Xbox begins a slow, painful process of rebuilding trust. First, they dropped Kinect from the Xbox One bundle, matching PlayStation's price, a reversal that felt like another admission of failure, and contradicting executives who said the Kinect was essential and the Xbox One wouldn't even work without it. Then,
you see what he's saying too, like I said, Phil Spencer got handed a crazy train, just like PlayStation did, and they're trying to control it. It's not like he did that, as I was trying to tell people. He did the best that he could, and there's only so much you can do with that crazy train. Obviously, he's not a perfect guy, but he was a lot more smarter than them and understood gamers a lot more and had that experience.
Then came backwards compatibility, a direct contradiction of Mattrick's infamous quote, and gamers loved it. Spencer made another smart move. He kicked the corporate bobbleheads off the keynote stage and handed the mic to developers, those who actually made games, not ones who made PowerPoint decks. Next up, Xbox Game Pass, a radical new idea at the time. Studios were acquired, and at the time, the largest purchase Microsoft had ever made in its history of Activision Blizzard King. The biggest signal yet that Microsoft was committed to gaming. Cross-platform play, once unthinkable, was embraced, even though they did have to drag Sony kicking and screaming into crossplay. Accessibility features were expanded, indie devs returned, cloud gaming evolved. The brand began shedding its corporate skin and growing something new. But even with all that, the Xbox One never recovered. Final numbers: Xbox One sold around 58 million units, PlayStation 4 over 117 million units.
58 million is not bad though, because they had that 360 momentum still. If they wouldn't have messed that up, they could have had a much better chance. But yeah, That's the biggest blow right there. And then we see the series at about 30 or whatever, and they're not going to go much further. So it's like, damn.
They entered the generation with overwhelming momentum from Xbox 360's success, and thanks to one catastrophic announcement, all of that was gone. In 2020, Microsoft tried to reset with the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. Powerful, smartly designed consoles, a real chance to leave the Xbox One behind. But the ghosts of 2013 still lingered. By 2025, the console race was pretty much over. The PS5 was crushing the Xbox Series X and Series S in sales. Over a decade after that disastrous reveal, the Xbox brand still hadn't fully recovered. And then came the biggest shift yet, and maybe the most damning sign of all. Microsoft started bringing its exclusive games to competing platforms. They weren't betting on hardware anymore, they were betting on services. Game Pass, cloud gaming, Xbox on your TV, Xbox on your tablet, Xbox on your fridge if it had a screen. They weren't really selling consoles, they were selling access. Under Matrix's leadership, Xbox transformed from a gaming brand into a Trojan horse for Microsoft's entertainment fantasies. The Xbox One reveal spent more time cuddling up to cable companies than celebrating games. And maybe the most ironic part, Matrix's vision might have worked in 2020, but his timing was as catastrophic as his communication. Always online gaming, digital libraries, streaming games, those things eventually happened, but not in 2013, and definitely not like that. And that timing made the loss even more devastating, because the Xbox One era was, as Phil Spencer himself said, the worst generation to lose. In the past, switching consoles was easy. Cartridges and discs never carried over. Each generation was a clean slate. You could have been playing on a PlayStation 1 and easily jumped to an Xbox 360 because none of your old games carried forward. But the Xbox One and PS4 era was when gamers were building their first true digital libraries. Once you've sunk hundreds or thousands of dollars into a platform, you tend to stay there. By the time a new console launches, most players are already locked into one of the big three. Their games, DLC, and entire history are tied to that ecosystem. Your collection followed you, and once you're locked in, you almost never leave. Spencer put it bluntly, there is no world where Starfield is an 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PS5s. That's not going to happen. Losing here was more than Xbox losing a console cycle. It cemented millions of players into a rival ecosystem for life. That disastrous 2013 reveal didn't just sink the Xbox One, it rewired the company's entire gaming strategy. The dream of winning the console race died that year. From then on, Xbox's path shifted from battling PlayStation and Nintendo head-on to chasing a different future entirely. A future built on services, subscriptions, and putting Xbox on every screen possible. Not because they wanted to leave the fight, but because 2013 made it clear they could never win it.
Pretty much.
Today, Xbox isn't just a console anymore. Quietly, the focus has shifted away from consoles, away from generations, toward a future where the console is optional and eventually irrelevant. Screens without boxes. Gaming isn't powered by hardware anymore, it's streamed from a server farm. The Xbox is still here, for now, but it's no longer the center of the strategy. And now, with dwindling market share, with franchises fading, with studios being closed, and one last generation allegedly in the works, Xbox offers a new mantra. This is an Xbox. What that means exactly, no one can really say, but we know what it used to mean, and we know when that meaning started to die. May 21st, 2013.
There you go, guys. So, and you saw what Phil Spencer said, man, we lost that digital carryover. Once you lose that, it's over. Let me know what you guys think about this story. Like, subscribe. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. You got the full timeline here. This was awesome. Later.